You know that person who seems completely unbothered by things that send everyone else into a panic? The one who doesn't flinch when plans fall apart, who somehow finds something funny in situations that would leave most people on the floor? You've probably wondered what their secret is, whether they're just wired differently, whether something is wrong with them, or whether something is remarkably, quietly right. Here's what nobody tells you. That person didn't arrive there by accident. They were built by experience, specifically by the kind of experience most people spend their entire lives trying to avoid. And the psychology behind what happens to them is one of the most fascinating, heartbreaking, and quietly beautiful stories the human mind has to tell. Let's start with the brain itself, because something genuinely neurological happens to people who've endured too much. Their nervous system doesn't just process experience, it archives it. Every difficult moment, every unexpected loss, every time safety turned out to be an illusion, it all gets cataloged, not consciously, not in a way they can easily articulate, but stored deeply in the part of the brain that decides what's a threat and what isn't. What this creates is a person who is, in the most literal sense, running on different software than everyone else. Where most people experience the world in real time, these individuals are simultaneously living in the present and scanning the horizon. Their threat detection system runs constantly, like your phone checking for signals even when you're not looking at it. It never stops. Here's what's strange about that. What looks like anxiety from the outside is often actually competence. It's a nervous system that learned to be one step ahead because being caught off guard once cost something significant. That hypervigilance isn't a flaw. It's a feature that outlived the danger that created it. And understanding that distinction changes everything about how you see these people. Now here's something that will genuinely surprise you. You'd expect someone who's been through too much to become closed off, cynical, emotionally unavailable, and sometimes, in certain seasons of their life, they are. But more often the opposite happens. They become some of the most perceptive, deeply empathetic people you will ever encounter. Why? Because suffering is a language, and they are fluent in it. They notice the shift in your tone before you've finished your sentence. They catch the forced smile, the laugh that lands too late, the way you said "I'm fine" with just a little too much emphasis on the fine. They pick up on these signals not because they're overly sensitive, but because their survival once depended on reading rooms accurately. That skill doesn't disappear when the danger does. It redirects. And suddenly it's being used not to protect themselves, but to take care of everyone around them. This is where psychologist Richard Tedeschi's research on post-traumatic growth becomes relevant. His studies found that between half and two-thirds of people who go through significant hardship don't just return to who they were. They grow beyond it. Their relationships deepen. Their capacity for gratitude becomes almost disorienting in its intensity. They stop in the middle of an ordinary Tuesday and genuinely feel something about the fact that they are still here, not performing gratitude, but because they've stood close enough to loss to understand what ordinary actually costs. But here's the part nobody warns you about. Underneath all of that strength is a nervous system that never fully learned to rest. Ask them to sit with their back to the door in a restaurant and watch what happens. Suggest a spontaneous plan change and see how quickly they construct 17 alternatives. This isn't paranoia. It's what happens when your early life taught you that unpredictability has consequences, and your nervous system took very careful notes. They plan obsessively for small things while remaining strangely calm about enormous ones. They'll spiral over a text response while being eerily composed about a job loss. The big catastrophes, they've already survived versions of those, so they pour their energy into the small things they can actually control. Let's talk about relationships, because this is where it gets the most complicated and the most human. People who have been through too much often become simultaneously the most fiercely loyal and the most emotionally guarded people in your life. They will show up for you at midnight without hesitation. They will remember the small thing you mentioned 6 months ago and quietly do something about it. They love with a specificity and steadiness that's genuinely rare. But ask them what they need. Ask them to let someone carry something for them. Watch them deflect, redirect, minimize. Oh, it's nothing. I'm fine. Other people have it much worse. That's not modesty. That's a coping mechanism that calcified into identity. They survived by telling themselves they were okay, by needing as little as possible from anyone. So admitting need now, even in safety, triggers something old. Something that remembers what happened the last time they depended on anyone. This creates one of the loneliest paradoxes in human psychology. They become profoundly good at being needed and deeply uncomfortable with needing. They build lives oriented around giving because giving feels safer than receiving. And they tell themselves this is just who they are. When really, it's armor they put on so long ago, they forgot they were wearing it. There's something else, something quieter that sits beneath all the strength and the dark humor and the fierce independence. Grief. Not the grief of losing someone else, though many of them carry that too, but a specific, strange grief for a version of themselves they never fully got to be. The self that trusted without scanning first. The self that loved without calculating the exit. The self that existed before the world taught them that softness has a cost. How do you explain that you're mourning a person you barely remember being? How do you tell someone you're homesick for a version of your own childhood you didn't fully get to live? That there's a lightness you've heard about, a kind of ease in being human that still feels foreign to you. This grief rarely announces itself dramatically. It shows up quietly. In the moments they watch someone trust easily and feel something they can't quite name. In the way they hold ordinary peace a little too tightly because they know how quickly it can go. In the laugh that covers the sentence they almost said out loud. They don't fall apart over it, they carry it. And in carrying it, they become remarkable at sitting with others in their pain. Not fixing it, not rushing to the silver lining, not offering the kind of comfort that's really just discomfort management for the person giving it. They sit in the dark with you because they know the dark. They don't flinch at the ugly parts of your story because they have ugly parts of their own that they've learned to stop apologizing for. And the humor, the dark, sharp, perfectly timed humor, is part of this too. It's the discovery that when you can laugh at the absurdity of your own pain, it loses some of its authority over you. Every joke is a small act of dominance over something that once had all the power. Comedy becomes a way of saying, this happened and it hurt, and I am still here, and I refuse to let it be the only thing I am. Here's the real psychology underneath all of this. People who've gone through too much don't just survive. They develop a layered, hard-won understanding of what it means to be human. They know that strength isn't the absence of falling apart. It's the decision to reassemble yourself even when some of the pieces have changed shape. They know you can be both tired and grateful, both wounded and generous, both broken in specific places and more whole than most ever become. Their pain became perception. Their survival became wisdom. And somewhere along the way, without meaning to, they became the person others feel inexplicably safe around. The person you call when things get real. The one who already knows what to say because they found those words for themselves first. There's a reason lighthouses are built where they are, not on calm shores, on the ones that know what it means to be battered. They don't shine because conditions are perfect. They shine because they remember the dark, and they decided that was exactly the reason to keep the light on. If any of this resonated with you, you already know why. And that's worth something. That's worth everything. If this spoke to you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more deep dives into the psychology of what makes us human. Drop a comment. I read everyone. Does this resonate with you or someone you love?